Are you living in a victim mindset? Is it possible to break free from it? Just like it looks like I'm bound here by this duct tape and that I can't break free from this, I can. And so can you. You can break free of the handcuffs that are holding you in a victim mindset. A victim mindset's it's a mindset that's learned. And it's learned from our environment and from our upbringing. It's learned from childhood experiences. And we're going to discuss 6 ways we learn the victim mindset and then how we can course correct so that we can break the hold that it has on us. The first way comes from a study that's titled Parental Overprotection and Children's Social Anxiety. Parental Overprotection and Children's Social Anxiety. And it shows us that overprotecting our children enforces a sense of helplessness on them. So maybe we were raised with those helicopter parents. And they had very good intentions, right? They didn't want anything to happen to you. And they didn't want you to struggle like they had to struggle. So parents would step in and solve all the problems. Children need to face struggles. People need to face struggles. It's how you build resilience. Facing struggles creates problem solvers. There's a problem, you struggle through it. Sometimes you fail, but you learn from all of that. It builds that resilience. The second way is constant criticism. Did you grow up in a household that you were constantly told, you were criticized about everything? You're no good at that. You can't do that. You're not good enough. That leads you to feel inadequate. And when you feel inadequate, that leads to blaming others and external forces for all the challenges that you face in your life. Life then revolves around those external challenges and not the internal ones. Not you as a being, but the outside challenges then start dragging you down. So it's important to note that it's not, when you're blaming outside forces, it's important to note that those, you're doing that because it's a defense mechanism. It's those external forces are being blamed so that the light isn't shined on how you feel inadequate. You're trying to protect yourself by blaming those outside forces. Number 3 on the list, there was some type of neglect or abuse. Now, it's fairly obvious with the big abuses, but we're talking about a slightly different type of abuse, right? There's a study out there that followed individuals for 30 years. And that study was, give me 1 second, I wrote it down here. That study was the long-term impact on childhood abuse and neglect on mental health. And what they found was that 30 years later, when they interviewed these adults that went through some kind of neglect or abuse as a child, they found that they adopted a victim mindset. Now, that's not a big surprise when you're talking physical or sexual abuse, right? Like, we can all have empathy and understand that. But sometimes it was the sense of a parent not loving them or not having a parent's approval. Sometimes the parents had to work a lot and they weren't around, and the child translated that into the parents don't love me, when it was just the exact opposite. So you have that emotional abuse and that guilt that you feel. Number 4, it's modeled straight from the parents. Sometimes, like, the adult has that victim mentality, that victim mindset, and through their language, the child picks up on it. Number 5, sometimes being bullied. This is a big one for me. I was bullied in school, and being bullied can lead to feeling like people are targeting you. So do you feel like you have a target on your back? Do you feel like people sort you out just to make your life miserable? And finally, number 6, academic and social pressures. This could lead to you feeling like you're not smart enough, right? You fail school, you fail test. This happened to me. I got pushed through my entire education. I was like the kid that fell through the cracks. I never felt smart enough. I never felt adequate enough. I never felt good enough. I was never the first kid that got picked for the teams when we had to like break up and everybody had to choose teams. I was like the last guy that got picked almost every single time. So does any of this ring a bell? Because this is where that victim mentality could be coming from. So now we know where it came from, right? How do we identify it right now in our adult lives? If we can identify it in our adult lives, if we can put a reason on it from our childhood, then we can move to that course correction, right? Correcting the ship. The last tip I give you today is going to be one of those moments where your head just explodes. It's a great analogy. Anyway, I want you to identify where it came from. So as adults, we pay attention to our thoughts and our words because that's really where it's going to show the most. Do you think that life sucks? That if not for bad luck, you'd have no luck. That life happens not to you, not for you, but to you. Is life always happening to you? Because I believe life happens for us to offer us opportunities to grow and crush challenges. But a lot of people tend to believe that life happens to them. It's that external, constantly holding me down, constantly this happens and that happens, and the car breaks down, and the water heater breaks, and the boiler breaks, and a tree limb falls, and the power goes out, and it's always happening to me. Are you always asking, why me? This is another way, listening to the words that we're using. Why me? Why does it always happen to me? Why am I not good enough? Why am I not wealthy enough? Why am I not popular enough? Why am I not? When you're using why me on a regular basis, that could be an indication. Do you ruminate over the negative? Are you thinking about how someone wronged you weeks, months, years ago? Are you still thinking about the kid that bullied you, the kid that bullied you in school? Are you thinking about the guy that cut you off on the highway and how he disrespected you, or the guy that bumped into you in the store and didn't say sorry? Like, do you constantly ruminate on that negative? Do you, here's a good one. Do you resent others? Do you resent others for winning? Especially people that are close to you. When I used to walk down the block and be like, I'd look at somebody and I would judge them and I'd be like, how does that guy drive that car? Like, he's not smarter than me. But then I switched and I started saying, you know what? What do I need to do so that I can drive that car? When other people win, that now brings me an immense amount of joy. Because they're winning. And if they can win, I don't say, why not me? I say, if they can win, so can I. They just proved it's possible to win. They didn't prove that I can't win. They proved it's possible to win. So are you blaming or are you resenting others for their winnings? The next one is, are you blaming outside forces for your challenges? Do you walk around and when you have a challenge or you fail at something or something doesn't go your way, is it the outside force that created it? Is it somebody else's force? They didn't get me the report early enough, so I couldn't take their stats and enter it into my report that I had to send off to my manager. So my report's incorrect or incomplete because of someone else. Is it someone else's fault that I'm sick? Oh, if I wouldn't have went out with Joe, I wouldn't have caught his cold. It's his fault that I'm sick, right? Are you blaming outside forces for your challenges? Now, here's the juicy part, because now we're going to start getting into action steps we could take to help right that ship. And the last one's amazing. You're doing it right now, by the way. Big high five right to you. Big bro hug. If we were in a room, I'd get up and I'd walk over and I'd hug you right now, because you're doing it right now. If you lasted this long in this video, it means that you're aware and you want to make a change. You want to make a difference, whether that's in your life or someone else's life. But something put you here listening to these words 10 minutes into this video. So good for you. High fives. You already accomplished step number 1, and that's becoming aware. It all starts with awareness on the negative bias that we're all experiencing. Now start working on changing that negative bias. The negative bias shows up, remember, in our thoughts and our words predominantly. It does show up in our actions, but the way we're going to really come to it is in our thoughts and our words. We're going to start paying attention and listening to those thoughts and words, and then we're going to change those thoughts and words. And right here, I'm going to put up my process for 1, becoming aware of your thoughts and your words, slowing things down, and 2, how to actually change the thought. Real quick, to change your thought, you just say, I can't becomes I can. I don't becomes I do. I'm not becomes I am. We just turned the thought 180 degrees. Nice in-depth videos for you. The second way we could start taking control back, start righting that ship, breath work. Breathing is one of the best ways for you to get into rhythm with your body. It's one of the best ways for you to take control back. It's one of the best ways for you to calm your nervous system. It speaks directly to your nervous system. It's one of the best ways. You got box breathing. You got the physiological sigh. There's plenty of other techniques out there. Wim Hof is another. He's a big breathwork guy. If I was doing breathwork, I'd look at Wim Hof. Go out there, find the breathwork that resonates with you, and start doing that breathwork. Little meditation also works too. If you can't meditate, I'm going to give you another video right here. If you can't meditate, this is where you go. If you're saying, I can't sit still, you're the perfect candidate for that video. Number 3, repeat to yourself I am statements. I used to think this was all fluff and foo-foo, and what are you guys talking about? You want me to do what? You want me to talk to myself? You guys are crazy. No. I am statements start laying the groundwork to sneak past your subconscious and create your new identity. So you have to, I can give you a couple of suggestions here, but you have to form your own I am statement. I am each day taking steps to regaining control or seizing control. If you want to be super aggressive, it's seizing control. If you want to be a little more passive, it's regaining control. I am taking back control of my life, right? My past is not my fault. This is a good one too. My past is not my fault. I am now intentionally creating my present. And lastly, and this is the big one. This is a great analogy I put together for you guys. Take responsibility for your life. It may not be your fault. Whatever happened, whatever created the victim mindset, whether it was learned, whether it was a trauma, whether it was bullying, whatever it was, take responsibility for your life. It wasn't your fault that it happened, but it is your responsibility now. And as you take responsibility and you forgive both yourself and others, you're going to be, so you're blaming, you're starting to wiggle out of, as you take responsibility and you forgive others, those others that may be blaming you, you're removing that blame. You start to wiggle out of the grasp of that victim mindset, that the grasp it has on you. I want you to think of forgiveness like this. Have you ever seen a boat that was sitting idly by on the dock? The boat's tied to that dock. It's connected to that dock, right? It's connected there with a rope. That rope is tied to both the dock and the boat, and it stops the boat from drifting off. Well, your thought is that rope. Your thought is keeping you tied there. It's keeping you tied to the dock, and it's not letting you go off. So when you offer forgiveness, it's just like you're taking out a knife and you're cutting through that rope. If you went down to the dock right now and you took a knife out and you cut the rope holding the boat back, what would happen? That boat would be able to pull away from the dock under its own power, under its own thought process. And here, the boat's thought process is its engines. That boat would be able to pull away under its own power, and that's exactly what forgiveness and responsibility does for you. So go take back your control. It's going to happen slowly. It's not an easy process. But if you're willing to fight, if you're willing to make moves, if you're willing to grow, if you're willing to forge through that pain, you will live an amazingly fulfilled life. Remember, change doesn't happen with the same thinking that created the challenge in the first place. Guys, we live up here in the numerator, not down in the denominator. Go out there and be unstoppable. Love life. Guys, I love spending time with you. Have a very blessed day.